This is the corn patch. It's, I'd call it Millionaire's Row. The man that walks down this corn patch is rich. Maybe not in the things the world would call riches, but in the riches that really feed your belly, give peace to your heart, make a home what it should be. This is Millionaire's Row. This is the corn patch and Lou and Darlene's garden. We love to be out here. It does something for our mental stability just to see, uh-oh, look out, we got to raise that up. You know, this is it. And then we go over here, you see, it's yet another corn patch. We're growing blue corn, black corn, yellow corn, field corn, sweet corn. We got all kind of corn growing. And we love corn. And I'm sure you do too. How much better it is when you sit down at the table and you eat corn that you grew with your own hands. It's all coming by God's grace. He supplies the sunshine. He gives life to the seed. He sends the showers. He gives strength to work the soil. My dear friends, here's that ear of corn, right? Here's this little ear of corn. That's a gift from the good Lord. So God bless you, my friends, and I hope you reap an abundant harvest in your life today. Good morning, friends. This morning I came out into the garden. It was about 9 o'clock, and a nice breeze was blowing through. And the music that was being made by the corn patch was it was food for the soul. Right now the field corn is drying on the stalks, and I don't know if you can hear it, but as the wind blows, they rustle back and forth. It's a very soothing, natural sound. And it's not the kind of thing I used to listen to in the city. It was more sirens and guns and things. This is something better. You know, when Darlene threw away the television set, I had like no recourse. When she invited me to go out and work in the garden, how could I refuse her? So I went out into the garden, began to work with my hands, and really began to develop a love for natural things, for useful labor. And you know, it's just what I needed to. My mind was really, my mind was in the wrong place. And every decision that we make, you know, it forms a pathway in the brain. And these things become habits. It's hard to break out. But anytime you use your hands and your feet, when you put the limbs into motion, when you have useful labor, anything that changes circulation changes the firing patterns in the mind. So if you want to be healthy mentally, useful labor is an excellent source of peace that passes understanding. And I got involved in working in the garden, building on the house more and more, and the more I did it, the more I liked it. And as I really began to have a love for it, it changed the way I thought. Now Darlene, when I met her, she was just getting involved into making handmade pottery. When she was finishing up in Emory University, she saw an exhibit, like somewhere there, of lady potters, you know, the clay and the pottery and all those things. She saw an exhibit, and it drew her. You know, the Lord was working with her too. You know, it drew her. She wanted to get her hands into something real. She majored in psychology, and what you learn in psychology regarding mind cure and how the mind works, it's just not practical, it's not real. It does not address the needs of the soul. So Darlene took a class. It was pouring molds, ceramics. So they would pour clay into molds, and they would paint it. And, you know, Darlene did that for a while, but she said, I want to actually make things with my hands. And so she found out a fine arts center in Atlanta that offered pottery courses, and she took one. And here's a few pictures of Darlene, you know, and her pottery shows and her pottery business. And Darlene became an artist. She was doing painting, she was doing handmade pottery, and she left the university training behind because she had found something that was real, that really fastened her mind on something that was real. And so we both were getting experiences, you know, different parts, different places, different ways, but we're getting experiences in the value of working with our hands, working out in the garden, working in natural settings, doing something that's real instead of something that has no practical meaning. You know, this is our greens patch. We've got some red mustard, some kale, some rape, arugula, and different things in there. We've been eating on it now for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks. And if it doesn't get too cold, We plan to eat this until end of February, March. Then we'll have new greens coming up. So if you time it just right, you can have greens, our chief source of calcium. You can have greens all throughout the year. You know, here in the garden, when the corn comes in, you know, we're going to grind it at some point, going to have, you know, corn cakes, going to have some good food. Useful labor produces fruit. And when you see the fruit of your labor, whether it's cutting firewood, you know, I've got piles of firewood stacked up around here where I've been cutting wood. You know, when you stand back and you look at the wood you've cut, you get a sense of satisfaction that you can't get otherwise. And so out here in the garden, as we bring the food in, you know, we're storing our food, we're canning it, we're freezing it, we're drying it. As we're preserving the food, we stand back, look at the food, and it just gives you some sort of sense of realness that you can't get just going into Winn-Dixie. You know, it's hard to put into words because it's an experience. It's not theoretical teaching, it's an experience you have to have. Now this is the vault. We walk in, and on the right, this is the treasure. You have some Carolina rubies, and if you go down a little bit, you see Diane's, and then you got bunch Puerto Ricans, Malachi purple. I don't know on the bottom, you might be able to tell, we got a whole lot of peanuts drying. We just harvested a few days ago. And if you go over here, a whole lot more peanuts. And then we've got some mystery purple. Not sure what kind of sweet potatoes those were. Somebody, I think, gave one to Darlene, and she's planting it. We call it mystery purple. Then the heart of gold. Here, they're tomatoes. And that's going to be a lot of good food come winter and all through the years to come. And then you've got some pear sauce. And you go up top, you got applesauce. And then you got lots of dried beans, chickpeas, lentils, black beans, kidney beans, all sorts of beans. Back here, more tomatoes. And let's see. Here we have green beans. Beside the green beans, we got pickles. And then, but this is the treasure chest. This is the vault. This is the true riches. My wife will cook up this good food. We got some canned blueberries back here. Let's see if we can move this aside here. We got some blueberries that we canned this year too. That's going to make a good blueberry crisp about Christmas time. And that's the vault. And come over and join us for lunch sometime if you're in our neck of the woods. In Genesis 3, when Adam had sinned and the Lord put him in the garden, He gave him work with His hands. You know, it's not just the work we're doing here, it's a location. In 2 Corinthians 3:18, and beholding we're changed. You know, the 5 senses, the avenues of the mind are what you hear, see, taste, touch, and smell. So if somebody's having a bad day, let's say they have some stress, they're dealing with some depression, best medicine for them is to change the input. Get out into a natural setting, into the garden, you know, smell the flowers, get your hands in the dirt, and this can help restore the mind. Because it is true. The inputs, you know, what we hear, see, taste, touch, and smell, have a lot to do with how we think. And so when you have the whole package, when you have a natural surrounding and you have the useful labor, it's a step toward mental health and well-being. And the Lord was helping us. Darlene got rid of my television for me, got me out in the garden. We were building on our house together, and we were taking our baths together in the creek. Now that's real living. We were doing a lot of things that we had not done in the city. And slowly but surely, our city thinking gave way to country thinking. And slowly but surely, it had a pronounced influence and an effect on our marriage. So I look back at that time when the Lord was leading me to get more involved in nature and get my hands dirty. And as I look at Darlene's life, as she looks at her own life too, she can see how God was leading her to get engaged in something real, to get her hands busy, get her mind active in something practical. And these are steps toward, mental sobriety. God bless you, my friends. You have a nice day.